Hello, everybody. Our guest this episode is Channelle Beller. She is a seasoned sales and marketing executive, vibrant force in the world of real estate, born in Alabama, but raised in fabulous Las Vegas. She's had a career in real estate spanning over 24 years. Channelle's expertise goes beyond just real estate. She's a mastermind in networking and marketing, and she continues to attend conferences, harness the power of social media, and is coached by Tom Ferry to become the best in her field. Her remarkable professional accomplishments represent only a part of her life's picture. Outside of work, she's a dedicated mom, wife, and family woman who blends success and style. For real, she always has like the cutest shoes. Chanelle's passions also extend to philanthropy. Her belief in giving back to her community leads her to regularly volunteer her time and resources. She advocates and volunteers for the Trauma Intervention Program in Southern Nevada and was previously involved with the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, where she was awarded Woman of the Year in 2013. Her story is one of ceaseless drive, unwavering dedication, and a mix of professional and personal success. So we're so excited to welcome her here today for T-Shirt Talks. Hello.
Thank you.
Fascinating story, Chanelle. I was telling Tati on the way over here, I was like, the more and more I get to talk to you and learn about you, legitimately one of the most fascinating people I've ever met. So thank you very much for hanging out today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
And to start, we're T-Shirt Talks. So we have to talk about our T-shirts, except Mike.
I'm consistent.
Yeah. So I have my little Johnny Cupcakes Star Wars T-shirt, and yours
is Trendy and Tipsy on Instagram. I have to give a shout out. It's their vintage collection and it's Kid Rock.
So cute. I love it. My favorite was when you text like, I'm so excited for my outfit. I know exactly what I'm going to wear. So super excited.
Yes.
I did too.
Well, it's literally just a drawer. Like which one today? Which of the 20 white T-shirts today?
I had Brooke press 2 more in the car just in case.
Oh, just in case something happened.
In case you spilled.
Hey, I always have to be prepared.
So we'll start today. I always like to start at the beginning. So can you describe 10-year-old Chanelle?
Oh, she was is very different than I am currently. She was very timid, a little unsure of herself or very unsure of herself and scared. You know, she didn't know if only she knew then
Right.
what was ahead of her. But I think, you have to go through everything that you are going to go through in life to become who you are today. And I don't say that I wouldn't change some of the things because I didn't have a wonderful childhood, and no fault of my mom's. But so maybe I would have changed a few things. But for the most part, like I said, if you don't experience those things, you don't become who you are today. So by and large, I wouldn't change a lot of my experiences because I really do believe it's made me who I am today. So
Yeah, I love that. And you were raised in Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. So you born in Alabama, Montgomery, Alabama.
yes,
And then in Vegas, what high school did you go to here in
I went to
Vegas?
Las Vegas High School.
Okay, awesome. A classic.
Yes.
So how would you say that your upbringing from childhood, high school, did you attend a college or did you go straight to the workforce?
I went straight to working.
Okay.
I moved out of my mom's house before I graduated high school.
Oh, okay.
And so I started working when I was 15 and a half because back then you could get a worker's permit.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if,
Heck yeah.
some you remember. That's not really a thing anymore, I don't think.
Kids don't work. I'm joking.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm joking.
But my mom is probably the hardest worker I know. And so it was instilled in us very young to work for the things that we wanted. And I really wanted my independence. Mm-hmm. And I wanted my own car. I wanted my own money. And I wanted to drive really more than anything. And it's funny, I don't talk about this very often anymore, but my mom, there were 3 of us kids at home, and we had what we called our turn. And so because my mom didn't make very much money, so every 2 weeks when she got paid was when we got to $40 to go buy school clothes. So we didn't get like big school clothes during the summer. And I loved shopping. I mean, I don't know why. She named me Chanelle. It was very fortuitous. So, but I wanted more than the $40. And so I would save up my turns so that I could get the more expensive jeans, or I could get, because $40 wasn't a lot of money then, but it really wasn't a lot for what I wanted.
Right.
And so as soon as I could start working, I needed to save up for my car, but I also needed to save up for the things that I really wanted, which was clothes. And so I saved up to buy my car. And I also, it annoys the heck out of my husband, but I, again, am very independent, and I didn't want anyone to tell me that I didn't want my mom to be able to say, well, give me the keys to your car because you're grounded, or not that I was doing anything bad where she was going to ground me, but I didn't want her to tell me where I could go, or no, you couldn't have your car, or, those type of things. So I had my car, my keys. Nobody was going to tell me what I couldn't do. And I'm still very much that way. So that's,
Yeah. Do you remember what your first job was?
Oh, yeah.
What was your first job?
I worked at Little Caesars Pizza.
Oh, I love that. So you did what? Papa John's?
Papa John's.
Papa John's.
So Papa John's wasn't yet open in Las Vegas.
Okay.
And as soon as it opened, I switched from Little Caesars to Papa John's because they paid better.
Well, there you go.
That's it.
That must be the key to success. If you start at Papa John's and then go into real estate, you'll be successful. That might be it.
It's pretty much a breeding ground for
Yes, for
real estate
success.
professionals. That's it.
But it was funny. I met one of my dearest friends still to this day at Little Caesars because I broke my leg tumbling, and they hired her to come in while I was out. And when I came back, she was like, oh, crap, she's going to take my job. But we had the best times. And I think that's where you learn a lot of your early skills is in your first jobs. And I had to answer the phones, that's what we were hired to do, was answer the phones and make the pizzas. But you learn a lot of your customer service skills, I think. And so we would answer the phones, and we made sure that we had a great time while we were at work. And so they came out with the extra large pizzas. That was like a new thing. And so we had our script, and this is an early lesson in scripts, was, thank you for calling Little Caesars Pizza, where bigger really is better. And so we would answer the phone, thank you for calling Little Caesars Pizza, where bigger really is better.
That's cute. They always say, like, when everyone should have a job in the service industry,
Absolutely.
because once you do that, like, you can do anything, pretty much.
Oh, yeah.
Once you work with the public like that and know what that grind is like, then you can.
When you mess with the public's food, you really get to see a different side of humans.
Oh, and I think you have an appreciation for those jobs.
Absolutely.
For sure.
So,
yeah, that's awesome. So what has the importance? Oh, and actually real quick before we do that, you were in competitive cheer.
yes.
How fun. So do you think that kind of helped shift like your like mental strength? Because that's hard.
Yes. So this is a funny story. My mom probably won't appreciate me telling this. So I decided that I was going to try out for cheer my freshman year of high school. And I wasn't particularly athletically inclined, I don't think. I had never done anything really up to that point because money was a struggle.
Yeah.
I always say we grew up poor, but I didn't know it because my mom never told me. She would say, hey, Chanelle, we're poor. But I knew... I just knew that my mom worked really hard, and when you're poor, usually everyone else around you is poor, so you don't really know any different. And it's not like I had family members who had really more than, or so we were just, that's the way life was.
Normal. Yeah.
And we still had food, we had all of our meals and things like that. And like I said, my mom worked really, really hard to make sure that we still had enough, and sometimes a little more than enough. But so my freshman year, it's 8th grade year, I decide I'm going to try out for cheerleading. And my best friend who was going to El Dorado, she's going to try out for their program. So we're trying out, and I'll never forget, it's the day that we find out if we make it. And my mom, has all the confidence in the world in me. She says, she comes to pick me up, and she says, did you make it? And I said, yeah. And she said, I was going to get you a cake, but I was afraid you weren't going to make it.
Have you seen there's these TikToks of like they buy 2 different cakes or 2 different cookie cakes. One says like, yay, congratulations, you passed the bar. And one's like, who needed to go to be a lawyer anyway? Like,
yes. And I will never forget that. I'm like, especially having raised a child now, like I mean, I understand where her heart was, but I was like, what the hell, Mom?
I love that.
That's funny. So what has the role kind of throughout your life when you were younger, but then also now, the role of mentorship and having the personal success, or what do you think that influence of mentorship has done in your life?
I've been very fortunate to have several phenomenal mentors in business, but also in life.
Yeah.
And I think my first mentor, I always have to give the credit to my mom, because she didn't have a great life, and she never let that be a stumbling block or hindrance to anything that she wanted or anything that she needed. And I'm a firm believer in the saying that there's no victims, there's only volunteers. And so you go out and you make the life that you want. And I think it all comes back to mindset, really.
Yeah.
And so my mom was my first mentor, or my first teacher in that regard. And then secondly, I've had many, many mentors when it comes to business. Some of them didn't realize they were my mentor, and I might have watched them or admired them from afar. But two in particular, one, when I switched from the real estate side of things to the title and escrow side of things, she was phenomenal. And she guided me and she coached me side by side, step by step. And her name is Shelly, and she really, really was phenomenal. And then another one, she has been, again, not side by side with me, but more as a manager and a close friend for the last 19 years. She actually just retired. And her name is Norma, and she is admired in our industry. And she really helped me. I'm not saying that it was always easy and that we always got along, but sometimes I think those mentors are the best ones, because
Absolutely.
Sometimes you have to have the tough conversations and you have to listen to the things that you maybe don't want to hear and have those growing conversations. But she has really helped me to become the best version of myself from a business side, I think, that I could be.
What do you think one of the biggest lessons from either Shelly or Norma has been for you?
I would say from Norma that sometimes I need to bite my tongue. Because I'm brutally honest sometimes, and that doesn't always serve you well. Even, it just doesn't.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need to take a minute and think. And I'm not
Rude.
No, I don't think so. No. But I'm honest, and sometimes people don't want to hear it.
Correct.
And so sometimes you need to take a step back and think about it before you come across with your honesty, because honesty isn't always the best policy. I don't care what your parents tell you. So, and to be more diplomatic with that honesty, sometimes you just don't say anything instead of telling the truth.
Yeah.
So I think that was a valuable lesson that I learned from her. And then Shelly, she just really, she believed in me sometimes when I didn't believe in myself, and gave me that vote of confidence or that courage. Because again, like I said, 10-year-old Chanelle was insecure and a little afraid. And sometimes you just have to go for it.
Yeah.
So.
Go ahead.
No, it's funny because I'm just sitting here listening to you, and I'm thinking back, and it's like, I think I've known you now for like 15 years. I think it was like 2008, the first time I met you through Christine. And just to see your development over the years, and even yesterday when we were over at the sales meeting, and how much you've taken that mentorship, but like applied it. How many other people were around those same two women who are now out of the industry? And I just think there's something about just putting your ego in the drawer and just being humble and being able to take feedback from people, good and bad, that just ultimately is what helps to propel your growth over time. So I really admire that.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And I think too, we were at a conference last week, and they talked a lot about the importance of mentorship, but then also the importance of mentoring others and how sometimes that can be just as fruitful in your life. Do you have like an experience or a story? Because you're
So,
I mean, I look up to you. I was talking to Dad about that on the way. Like one of the few people in this industry that I feel like your values and your heart really align with what you do. And so,
I wouldn't say I necessarily have a formal mentee.
Mm-hmm.
However, I have the great fortune of working with agents every single day and loan officers and people within our industry. And maybe I wouldn't call it a mentorship, but more like a coaching relationship.
Yeah.
And I get to watch them grow and watch their businesses thrive. And that's the best part of my job, is seeing a brand new agent or a brand new loan officer come into this business and come to me for guidance, or come to me for maybe it is just a mentorship. You know, they look to me and take the little bit of wisdom that I'm able to give them, or the little bit of coaching, and take it. And when they actually implement it and then see their business grow, that's hands down the best part of my job.
I love that. So kind of while you've been in this space, what would you define as your success, both personally and professionally? Would it kind of be when you've seen people succeed, or how do you define success for your life?
So business and professional, or business and personal, are completely different, obviously. Business is exactly that. When I'm able to help someone fulfill their business goals, whatever they may be, because what looks like success to one agent may be something completely different to another. So one person may say, hey, I just want to do one transaction a month. And another may say, I want to make, $200,000 next year. And that's great. Whatever their goals are, if I can help, if our goals align, whatever that looks like, if we can work together and I can help them meet or exceed their goals, then that's success. Personally, my goals have changed over the years. It used to be I want to do X number of transactions, which equates to X number of closings, which equates to X number of dollars.
Right.
And I think that's most people in business. It's how do we get to this bottom dollar? But what I found is, as my son got older, it wasn't so much about the dollars. Yes, we all have to pay our bills, and we're all trying to, I keep looking for my real parents and trying to find the trust fund, but I did all the DNA and it never came. They're my parents and there's no trust fund. So now I'm trying to win the lotto, but that's a separate stream of revenue. But personal success now to me is if I can make enough money, whatever that dollar figure is, but more importantly, if I can have quality time with my family, if I can. For instance, when my son was in his senior year of high school, I wanted to miss no games. I wanted to miss none of his functions. I wanted to be able to go to every college tour. And I was able to make all those things happen while sacrificing none of the time that I needed at work to be with my clients when they needed me. And so it was just a restructuring of my business to be able to fulfill all of my personal obligations and to really figure out that was possible. I didn't need to work 12, 13, 14, 15-hour days. I just needed to be more efficient with my time so that I didn't have to forsake that. And I also wanted to have more quality time with my husband, because guess what? My son was growing up and he was not going to need me as much anymore, as heartbreaking as that is. So figuring out that.
Yeah.
No, I think that's one of the biggest myths that people have about success, is that somehow you have to sacrifice all of your time in order to have professional success. Or, if you want to be a success at home, then you're just not going to be able to make any money. And it's funny. It's like your time or your activities expand to the amount of time you allocate for them. Mm-hmm. So it's like if I allocate 8 hours to make my 10 calls, fun fact, it's going to take me 8 hours to make 10 calls. Versus if I give myself, 45 minutes, I can get all those freaking calls done, and I think the older we get, and you kind of see, you can be so much more productive with your time, and you do get to enjoy some of those things and still live a pretty good, have a successful component to your profession, but also really feel comfortable in who you are as a person with your family.
Amen.
That's it.
And I think you can really relate to at one point it was to get a certain dollar amount, but now it's, how can I maximize my time with my family and enjoy these things with my family.
Oh yeah. I mean, you figure 5 years ago, I wouldn't have gone on a almost 2-week road trip. You know, it would have been like, oh, we can't be gone for that long. It would have been like
my business will crumble.
100%, you know, and it is one of those things. You just have to, number one, trust in the value that you add to the marketplace, that if I don't return a phone call in 15 minutes, somebody's not going to just call the next person. But also, you know, you just have to know people understand. I think that's one of the biggest myths that I had to deal with, that, you know, if I didn't return a phone call, didn't return an email, or we made a mistake on something, that magically I was going to be fired from everybody. And it's like, there's a lot more grace. You earn it. You know, you can't screw up every time, but you know, when something is a little bit sideways and you get in front of it, it's fine. But yeah, the time piece, the older I get, especially, you know, you're getting older, bud. So it's like,
I'm young.
I'm just saying.
I'm a little chicken.
I'm just saying.
I'm a teenager.
You know, you realize, like, I have a weird contrast because I have a 24-year-old and a 9-year-old. So it's like, when I say you're getting older, it's like, okay, like you're like a adult now for the most part.
I guess.
So
dang it,
they say it.
But then I know I have limited time with Ellie, you know, so it is interesting.
Well, and those dollars don't mean anything if you don't have the time to enjoy it. And I look back in some of my most successful, if you want to quantify it as such based on dollars, some of my most successful years were my least successful personally.
Oh yeah. No, that's absolutely true.
Kind of going off of that, how would you say that you found balance between being a mom and being a really present mom, but then also being a businesswoman and running your business successfully? I know again, at this conference, it's my first conference, so I'm very excited about it. It was very good. A lot of women really struggle with like, well, I'm not home, or like the mom guilt. I think there's a lot to, like, on social media, like you're supposed to make your own breads and do all the things. So kind of how did you come to a place of, this is what's best for me and my family?
I will say it's never balanced. It's never going to be a perfect balance. That just doesn't exist, or at least I've never found a perfect balance. But what I did find, and what I learned many, many years ago coaching with Mike Ferry and then Tom Ferry, is that you can either run your business or it will run you. And so I had to and this comes with time and maturity, and like Mike was saying, you know, you have to earn this with your clients. But if you set those expectations, like this is when I work, and, you know, my phone goes on do not disturb at 8:00 at night. That doesn't mean I may not respond if I happen to be sitting on my phone texting because I'm laying in bed. You know, that doesn't mean I won't respond, but they know that by and large, I work from 8 a.m. to 5 or 6 p.m. After that, there's not really anything that I can answer that's going to be earth-shattering or is going to change before 8 a.m. the next morning.
Right.
So I set those expectations when I meet with a new client. These are my hours. These are the office hours. We work office hours because the escrow officers work office hours. So there's nothing that there's nothing that's going to deviate. There's no marketing that I'm going to do at 10 o'clock at night that's going to all of a sudden get all these new customers for them. It's just not going to happen. So if you set those expectations in the beginning, when you get a new client, then usually that's how it goes. You know, like I said, there's always the exception to the rule, but set those expectations, and then that allows you to have time with your family.
Yeah.
And then again, like with the vacations, I used to never take a vacation where I didn't work. Ever.
That's so crazy.
I always worked. And I always thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to come back and all my business is going to be gone. It's just all going to go away. But I realized that wasn't the case. I'm not that important, trust me. But I had to figure that out, that their world doesn't stop turning when you stop working. And I realized I started going on vacation to places where my phone didn't work because I was so tethered to my phone that was the only way I could stop it.
Yeah.
Well, we did that by accident.
Yeah, Yellowstone, apparently when you're in a national park in the middle of nowhere, you don't have reception. We didn't know that.
So that's one of the things. And then I would just set my out of office to say, hey, and as I was talking with my clients leading up to, hey, one of the places that our family loves to vacation is Havasu. And guess what? it doesn't work in Havasu. And they're like, oh, when you're out on the boat, I'm like, no, that's the only place it does work is in the middle of the water. When we're at our campsite, it never works. So, but it's a great thing because it forces me to take time away and it forces me to be present while I'm on vacation, because there's nothing more frustrating to my family than when I'm like, hold on, don't get the wakeboard out, or don't get the tube out. I've got to send an email. They're like, really, Mom, what are you doing? Mm-hmm. So really, honey, come on.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that I was able to do, is to figure out. And then as far as making bread, like the only time I ever made bread was during COVID.
Yeah.
Along with everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, I just had to figure out, what worked for our family, what worked for us. And then realizing, agents have their own schedules and none of them are the same. Mm-hmm. So why did I have to keep the same schedule? Yeah. Like I figure out what's important to my family and what's important to me, and then just set that expectation with my clients.
Yeah. I think too, when I was talking to you about this, I think children, kind of how you saw your mom working hard, and that might kind of feel like, oh, well, I'm not present, but you got that work ethic from her. Mm-hmm. And children seeing their parents, moms, dads who work really hard, I think that does instill something subconsciously in the kids and people that are watching you.
Yeah.
No, I agree. And I think it's one of the things that, Tati and I have talked about. When you have a system and a process, it's like if you work with 10 real estate agents, you can't have 10 different ways that you go about business, because you'll be the one that's going crazy. So it's like, if you share with somebody, here's how we conduct business, these are our hours, either they're going to conform or you're not going to want to work with them, and it gives a nice filter, because it's like, if you need somebody that's going to pick up the phone 9:00 on a Sunday, I'm probably not the right person to work with.
No, and like you said, you're going to go crazy trying to change who you are to fit everybody else. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because this is my new favorite mantra. And I stole it from someone who coaches with Tom Ferry also. And her name's Kate Newey. And I met her, and she's the most awesome agent. I met her years ago. She's out of Chicago. And she said, do less, but be more. So do less trying to be somebody you're not. Like, quit trying to be something to everybody and just be who you are, which is exactly why I wore this shirt. You guys know what it says on the back, but you're never going to meet somebody else who's like me. Yep. So I am who I am. I might say a curse word more than I should. My parents don't love it, but it is who I am. I am who I am. And if that totally offends you, then guess what? We're probably not going to work well together. I am very professional, but that's one of my character defects. So we're not going to work well together if that's just going to be a deal breaker for you. And I'm okay with that, because I would rather that up front, and then we can decide, okay, it's very nice to meet you, but I'm going to pass you off to somebody else who doesn't do that and that you're going to get along fabulously with. Because I would rather work with people that know, like, and trust me, and that we vibe with, hands down. Not somebody who expects me to answer my phone at 12 o'clock at night, because guess what? I take Benadryl at night to go to sleep, and you don't want that person, because she's going to be like, hello. So that's just not a good thing. So it's just better to work with people that you get along with, that you have things in common with, that you, instead of trying, like, going around crazy like we all do in the beginning of our careers.
I was going to say, in the beginning,
trying to appease the masses, and then you just go crazy. Mm-hmm.
Now that leads to burnout real quick. And I think that's what's so hard in our business is, when you're relying on the referral of somebody else, it takes time to build that confidence where it's just like, no, I can be me in this scenario. I don't have to be everybody else. And once you get to that point, there is a lot of freedom in that, which is pretty freaking awesome.
It is. And the more authentic you are, the more comfortable you are, I think the more business that just naturally comes your way, because you are who you are.
Yeah. Okay. It's funny because now I'm working with some of her friends, and it's like, I'm like the dad now, where they come and they're asking for the advice, and it's such an interesting dynamic that's created now, because it's, a lot of responsibility. You always feel the responsibility of what you're doing, but now, I'm doing a call with some of her friends yesterday from school, and like the dad's on the call too. And I'm like, don't worry, man. I'm going to talk to your kid the same way you're going to probably talk to your kid. Like we're all good here.
We're all dads here.
Exactly. So it is just, it's so interesting because earlier in my career, I just remember trying to be like, I joke with her, Banker Mike. I used to wear a shirt, and you probably met Banker Mike.
I did. I remember Banker Mike.
Banker Mike was an idiot. So
he's not an idiot. He was just a little stuffier.
He was very, very stuffy. But as I've grown through that and wear a white T-shirt to work most days of the week, it is interesting that people just appreciate that they have a safe place that they can just be themselves as well. Like there's nothing weird going on here. We're just having a conversation, and it is so much more valuable throughout the course of the day where you're just like, I'm a little bit more fulfilled because I'm just being me. I'm not a character of myself.
Mm-hmm. I would rather talk to white T-shirt Mike who knows his shit than somebody who doesn't know Jack who's in an Armani suit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
See?
But I think that's, for me, as like an outsider coming into real estate, what is really refreshing for me when I meet people, because I do think some aspects of real estate can be kind of superficial, and who's doing the luxury and what bag do you have, what shoes do you have.
Especially in Las Vegas. It's not like that in all cities.
That's true. That's probably true. I think, Vegas adds a layer to it. But when you see someone who, it's not necessarily that you can't have those things, but then also who you are and what your values are is just like a normal, down-to-earth, lovely person. Like we work with agents who are luxury real estate agents who just like chill and are really fun, and we have cheese and wine together. But then, also agents that come in shorts and a tank top, and it's like, we love you too. Like,
exactly. Love all the people.
Throughout your career, what do you think has been one of the biggest challenges that you were able to overcome to help you be successful? So either with your business or with working with people, or even just something within yourself that you had to overcome.
So I would say I started in this industry when I was 18. So I was young, I was blonde, and I have boobs. Let's just call it what it is, okay? I'm a woman. So those three things were not always to my benefit.
Right.
So I always worked really hard to be, I wanted to be the smartest person in the room. I wanted to make sure that I always dressed very professional, not like I'm dressed today. But I wanted to make sure that I knew my stuff, that I was dressed professionally, and that, I was never going to let any of those things be a detriment. And I was watching the podcast with Aaron, and, when you're young, people inherently, they're like, do you even own a house? Well, no, I don't own a house, but let me sell you one. That's not always like the best conversation. So you have to cut your teeth. It takes some time. And fortunately, I was able to do that and do that pretty quickly. And so that was a big challenge, and then you got to fake it till you make it a little bit, because you haven't even bought your own house, And then once you do, okay, then you understand the process a little bit more because you've done it yourself. And then you have to go, and I'm still a woman. I still have boobs. They haven't gone anywhere. And I have blonde hair. Like I stick out like a sore thumb. I look like a typical Las Vegas stripper, let's just call it what it is, like I am everything Vegas, right? So I have to make sure that I present very well, because I don't want people to think, here's this dumb ditzy blonde that's just like, I have to make sure that I know my stuff, and I have to earn the respect when I walk into a room, because nobody's just giving it to me. I'm not some gray-haired stodgy suit, like it is what it is. And I make sure that at least I try to make sure that I am better than my competition every day by learning as much as I can about all of the topics, and making sure that I present very well, and that I don't look like a stripper when I walk into any room, Yeah. So
I have to do the same thing.
I know.
I get it.
It's tough for you, Mike.
It's not easy.
I remember when we sat down for coffee at the beginning of the year, and I was like, because I want to kind of get more into networking and marketing. I'm like, I'm a little bit nervous because I've heard stories about women in real estate where they end up at this guy, like he has $1 million, multi-million-dollar home, and there's all these girlies, and like that's part of like the game. And you're like, you never have to do anything that would compromise who you are. And you were just very upfront, like, I've been married almost the whole time I've been in real estate. I've had a family. Like, I don't go out and drink and get drunk at these events. I don't, wear inappropriate clothing. Like, you can be professional businesswoman and make it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was when you're like, oh no, I don't have more than a glass of wine. I'm like, I love that. Like, I love that you can still be in this market, especially in Vegas, and be professional businesswoman. So
yeah. And that's if I have a glass of wine. I don't drink because I don't ever want to be perceived. And I'm not saying those that do are, but for me personally, I'm very conscientious of the person that I'm perceived to be business-wise. Every decision I make, I'm aware of, or I try to be aware of how that is perceived. And I'll give you a perfect example. On my social media, I have some newer content that's being put out there that's different. It's more fun. And I always talk about it with my husband. My husband doesn't pay attention to my business, but I was like, look at this one. It's really cool. It's really fun. And he was like, Chanelle, I don't know about that one. He was like, you might want to think about it. He goes, I don't care if you do or if you don't, but I think that this is going to compromise everything that you've worked so hard to build. And when I thought about it, I was like, you know what? You're right. Like, I wasn't dressed inappropriate. I was in business attire, but it was a little cheeky and it was a little bit more fun. And that's who I am.
Right.
And my clients that know me know that I'm fun and that I have a good time, but it's the people that don't know me.
Right.
And that's what I was concerned about.
Yeah. And kind of going off of that too. So how do you think, because we also at the conference, we were talking about...
Tati went to a conference.
I know. Take a sip of water every time Tati says conference. And what do you think, or do you think there's an importance, because you got married when you were...
23.
23. Okay. So I was 20. I was 24. So not super young, but you got married younger.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you think, if there is, in your opinion, the importance of having a spouse or kind of that family support that helped you in your business? Like, what's the importance of that for you?
My husband is my biggest cheerleader, my greatest supporter. He's my raving fan club. He is all of it. He's not just my raving fan. He's my fan club. And he has been that person for me since the day I met him. He believed in me before I believed in myself. He was the one who told me, when we talked about, and this is a true story, like he was like, oh, what do you want? Like, where do you see yourself, like, success-wise? Now, mind you, I didn't have a lot. My mom got her first new car that I knew of when I was in high school. So I was so jacked because I was like, whoa, this is really nice. I was driving a Geo Metro that I had to plug in the headlights. So, to have a brand new car, I was stoked. I was like, Mom, can I take your car? But I was like, I just want like a new Honda Accord. Like, that would be really nice. And that is a really nice car. And, a nice apartment in a nice part of town. Like, that's my big goals. And he was like, are you kidding? Are you serious? And I was like, I'm dead serious. He's like, well, like, maybe a nicer car. And I was like, a Lexus SUV. That would be like vision board kind of status for me. And he was like, oh, come on, we got to do better than that. And I didn't even know that much bigger than that was even, like, that it even existed, that it was possible. Mm-hmm. And so the joke is now when I buy a new handbag or I get something, I'm like, dude, you open this can of worms. You exposed me to the greater things in life. This is not my doing. This is all your fault.
That's
so,
funny.
Like, he really showed me what was possible. And he grew up in a much different lifestyle than I ever did. And so he exposed me, but he's the one who really was like, believed in me more than I ever did. And like, so when I say he's my biggest support system, he's my biggest cheerleader, he really is. And it's helpful that he's in the same industry. So he understands what I do. Mm-hmm. He I can't imagine, like I know people who have a jealous spouse or, because I go to lunch with male clients or I talk about male clients. I mean, a lot of realtors are men, a lot of loan officers are men. There's never, ever any of that. Thank God, because it just wouldn't work. But so he understands exactly what it is that I do, and I understand what he does. So it works out very well. When it doesn't work out well is when the market sucks because we're in the same industry. So that's when I think, oh man, did we screw this up? But no, he's the best.
I love that.
No, it's one of the things that I was at Mike Ferry last week, and
he was at a conference.
I was at a conference too.
Take a drink.
Exactly. But he spent an entire afternoon just talking about thinking big and just the power of that. And I think back, like we grew up, a very similar situation. So, I wanted a Honda Accord as well. It was like this green color. It was like, oh man, it's going to be like make it big one day. But, after I met Kelly and, my father-in-law, just different things where it was like, man, there's a lot of things that are really possible out there. And, that's one thing I try to instill in the kids. It's like, don't limit yourself to, whatever it is that I did. You can do something 50 times bigger. And it goes back to what we were saying before. It's like, if you put in the time and the work, whatever you can really think about, you can achieve. And I think that there's a certain aspect of that that's just missing with people sometimes. And it honestly just makes me sad, because it's like, I didn't come from anything, but at the end of the day, you can really make something manifest, but you just have to put everything into that. And then when you start to see it happen and you get the new handbag, you get the new house, you get the new car, whatever it is, it's an anchor in that what I'm believing is true, and that's a big thing.
I love that.
Just so we all are clear, I'm manifesting winning Powerball. I've been manifesting winning the lotto for several years. My uncle's won it twice.
What?
So third time's the charm. I'm winning it big, just so we're all clear.
I love that.
No, Alex and I were in the car the other day because the one guy recently won like almost $1 billion.
That was supposed to be me.
Yeah. Right.
I have a winning Megabucks ticket, $10.
But we were like, so what's the first thing we would buy? Well, we would do this. And like, okay.
That's my favorite game to play when we're on a car trip is how I'm going to spend my lotto winnings.
Speaking of lotto winnings, can you share one of your most significant professional successes and like why that was important to you? It doesn't have to be money-wise, but just this job is really hard. People think that, oh, I can be in real estate and I'll make 6 figures. And that's not the case. It takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. So through that, what do you think has been one of your biggest successes throughout your career? It doesn't necessarily have to be professional.
One of my biggest successes, let me think. Well, I will say that last year, if you're in the real estate market, it was not a fabulous year for real estate. And I was able to maintain my business at the same level. So that was a huge success for me. And I was able to stay number 1 in my company locally.
That's awesome.
So that was a big success for me.
That's huge. And that kind of takes what we were talking about before, like the systems and all, like, I guess and you're incredibly organized. You are one of the most, I think that kind of goes into your success in that system that you have. Like that's why before
I'm freakishly organized.
Yeah, well, even before this, normally we have a call with someone before, but you're the first person that's asked for the questions ahead of time to prepare. And even when we do classes, you're there an hour early to make sure everything's set up.
Can you repeat that? So when my parents watch this, I'm never on time for personal functions, but for business, I am always on time.
Yeah, no, we can always count. Chanelle will be there.
You can take notes.
I know. That's probably one of my biggest downfalls, both professional and personal.
Time is a suggestion to Tati.
Yeah.
I learned that it makes me very uncomfortable if the client is waiting on me. So if I am running behind, because inevitably it's kind of like the nail salon. When one client is late, then the next, then the next, then the next, then the next. You totally understand when you're getting your nails done, right, Mike?
Totally.
So if that starts to happen throughout my day, I communicate that with the client. Hey, it looks like I'm going to be running 10 minutes behind so that they're not waiting on me. because it makes me start to sweat. It makes me uncomfortable. I don't like that feeling. So I always try to be early, even if I'm just sitting in my car. Like I try to be like, I let you know, hey, it looks like my ETA is 2:47.
I know, like you're going to be late. Like, well, ours is 2:57, so you're fine.
Exactly.
But I take my business very, very seriously. And I'm, like I said, I'm freakishly, I think I'm like a undercover something else other than a salesperson because I am very organized. I track my numbers. If you were to do one of those personality things, I'm not a salesperson. I'm something else.
No, so one thing, because congratulations on last year, because I can tell you just that is a feat in and of itself. But if you don't mind sharing, how much more activity and effort went into maintaining that?
I would say probably triple, if not quadruple, to maintain.
Wow.
And I asked that intentionally because I kind of what Tati said, people think they get into this business and it's just like there's money in the streets. And there is if you're willing to do the work. But when the market gets challenging, the one thing you can control is your freaking effort.
The number of activities you do daily.
That's it. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Yes.
I remember sitting in, it was just a meeting with some other coworkers, and the branch manager came in. He started it with asking, do you want to make as much money or more than, and then named the top producing loan officer at that office. And I mean, millions. And we're like, yeah, we'd love to do that. He said, well, you can talk to more people. Talk to more people than they do, and you will make more money. Like, and that's what it is. Like, talk to more people, spend more time, do the things, and you will.
Like, I sent out an email yesterday that's talked about to my clients, basically saying, conversations create opportunities. That's it. Yeah. You just need to have the conversations to get those opportunities, whether it's to list houses, sell houses, finance houses, whatever it is that you're trying to do.
Yeah, I love that.
You have to talk to people to get business?
Damn it.
It's so weird.
And you wouldn't know it, but I'm really an introvert.
Really?
I will network with people, but if you take me to a networking event, that is where I fail. I fail miserably. I will find the one person I know and I will hang with them all night long.
Now, we were at a broker open earlier today, and she pushes me to get out of my comfort zone. So now it's like I'll go up and talk to people and begrudgingly and do all the things and have a smile on my face. But yeah, that's definitely a lot more work than just...
I'm better one-on-one or in small groups. Put me in a big, giant group, and that is not I don't like it. That is not where I thrive.
I think that's a good thing to know, though, because then you can put yourself in situations to kind of set you up for success in smaller environments and curate that. What do you think if you could give like one or two big like tips for other women in real estate, women in business, women entrepreneurs, what do you think one or two like big things that you would want them to take away?
It doesn't matter how beautiful you are. That's not going to create your success. Oftentimes that detracts from your ability to be successful. It works counteractively, I think.
Yeah.
So you have to work harder. You have to work more. You have to just be better than your competition.
Than your the ugly competition.
Well, I think people just don't take you as seriously.
So it's funny. 3 daughters, and Kelly's always talked about how women are very different to each other, like behind their backs, and like I'm naive. I'm like no. Like when I talk to my friend, I say the same thing to his face as I would say to you. Like I don't care. But as Tati's gotten to work, and Kelly and Haley and just different things, it's like it is brutal to be a woman in the workforce. Like, and it has just been very eye-opening for me over the last couple of years. And just I realized what a giant blind spot that was for me, just thinking that everything was made equal and everybody had the same opportunities. But, that's legitimately not the case. And I was took me 40 years to get there, but it's been just interesting to see, and not interesting in a good way. It's quite terrible, to be honest.
It's too bad you couldn't have had ugly daughters.
Trust me.
It's fun, I'm sure.
And then the second thing is just the confidence. Like whatever you can do to build your confidence, if that is working out, if that is public speaking has been a skill that I've actively worked on in many different ways. But public speaking, if that's how you get your confidence, whatever you can do to build your confidence. Because like I said, when I started in this business, 10-year-old Chanelle to 16-year-old Chanelle to 26 to 36 to now 43, almost 43-year-old Chanelle, the confidence just continues. And it's knowledge, it's life experiences, it's many different things, but whatever it takes to build your self-confidence, because that's how you get better.
Yeah. What was it, that one quote where it's, you will never be better than your self-image? Like you will never be a better version of you than you allow yourself to be.
Absolutely.
So,
and that's part of why I dress every day, because when I dress well, I feel well. When I feel well, I'm my best self.
That's true.
My dad calls me Glow, Glitter, Sparkle, Shine. It's like my My Little Pony name.
I love
so
that.
this goes with that.
That is awesome.
I love that. I agree. I think even just a little lipstick, little mascara, love it. For me personally. So last big question, where do you see yourself in 5-10 years? Like, what do you want? How do you want to grow both in your business and personally? What are some of the goals that you have for yourself?
So I am big on personal development. I am always trying to be a better version of myself. So right now, I used to run. I'm a former runner. I'm retired. So now I'm a walker.
Yeah.
And we just got a Peloton. So hopefully I will be a Pelotoner.
That. Yeah.
But so I'm trying to improve in that way. I am, like I said, I'm public speaking. I would love to be a keynote speaker for something. I was the keynote speaker for the Nike Women's Marathon in San Francisco after my best friend passed away.
Wow.
But you have a little bit of a captive audience, but they're all worried about, oh my gosh, I have to go to the bathroom before the race, or, they're not really paying attention. Yeah. So I would love to be a keynote speaker. I think that would be really, really cool. And that would help me with my public speaking. I'm working on multiple, I'll call them like little micro businesses. So I'm working on those. I would like to have, a bunch of different things going. Personally, those are kind of business things, but personally, in like 10 years, I'm hoping I'll maybe be a grandma. Since we only had one kid, I tell my son that he has to give me 5 grandkids.
Oh, geez.
And he's not really, on board with that plan, but 4 I'll be happy with.
Oh.
That's awesome.
So, I would love that. I would love to see him married and happy and just happy, whatever happy looks like for him. And then, my husband and I just living our best life.
I love that. And speaking of running, I didn't know you were a former runner. I am going to run my first half marathon in December.
Which one?
I don't know yet. I haven't. I was going to do the turkey trot, but apparently that's a trail run, and I don't want to do a trail run. So I think it's like called a recycling run or something at Sunset Park.
Okay.
And that's the beginning of December, half marathon. Because of the conference that I went to, everyone that's really successful runs. Like, that's the thing, that it's like builds this like mental endurance that I really want. And so I'm going to make myself run. So
I would say not everybody's a runner. Everybody has some sort of disciplined workout.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've run many full and half marathons.
I love that. Any tips and tricks I would love to know. I'd love all the help I can get.
Yes.
So that would be great. So real quick, we'll just do a speed round to end this off. Do you have anything you want to add?
Nope.
Do you have anything you want to add?
No.
You're not a runner.
My husband says if he's running, someone has a gun.
That's funny. It's hard. It's a lot harder. I'm like, 13.1 miles. Like, that's easy. And then you're like, okay, well, 13.1 miles is here.
To there.
And I'm like, wait, that's a long way. And then you run 2 miles. And it's like, well, that was kind of hard. And then you run 3 miles. It's like, how do I do this 10 more times? It's hard. But I can do it. It's going to be fun.
You can definitely do it.
Yes. So speed round. What is your favorite business-oriented or mindful-oriented book that you've read?
Snowball by Warren Buffett.
Oh, that's good. What's that about?
It's basically his whole life story. It's phenomenal.
Okay.
But you have to get it in hardback. Don't get it on Kindle.
Okay. Okay.
Because the appendix is like freaking, 500 pages.
Okay.
The footnotes. Sorry.
Okay. Oh, because you have to go back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite non-work related book?
Oh, I started reading Danielle Steele in 4th grade. So I've read every single Danielle Steele book.
Okay. So anything
Danielle Steele. And I just started reading Colleen Hoover.
Oh, well, yeah. All the girlies love Colleen Hoover. That's
Yes.
so good. Your favorite season? What's the best season?
Not summer.
Yeah, especially in Vegas. It's hard.
Yes.
I love winter. I love
Yeah.
Christmas, Thanksgiving, my
the
birthday.
seasons.
Right. All the important things.
Favorite movie?
I don't think, I'm not a big my husband loves the movies and I would rather read.
Okay. Well, there you go. Is there a book that was turned into a movie that you like?
No, they're never as good. But I will tell you, we just watched Sound of Freedom and that was,
I've heard really good things.
it's not a good movie, but
Right.
it's a phenomenal movie that everybody should see.
Yeah. I've heard that. What's the best way to wind down after a stressful week for you?
Just time with my family, doing anything with my family, because that's the whole reason that I work is so that, I can spend time with my family doing the fun things that we love to do. So we love to be at the lake, on the boat, in the water when it's not 130 degrees.
Right.
Sweet or salty?
Sweet and salty. I love popcorn with a fruit and nut Cadbury bar.
I've never heard that.
Oh, it's the best.
I love that.
Beach or mountains?
Definitely beach.
Very nice. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you,
Thank
Chanelle.
you.
Yeah, we're so happy that you could come and
No, it's been fun. Tati was really looking forward to this.
This
and
was the best.
good.
and it was interesting on our way over. Like, she really does look up to you. And it's fun for me
Aw.
because, she's went from never wanting to get licensed, never wanting to work for her dad to, one of the greatest joys I have is being able to work with her every day. But to have women like you that can pour into her and just be a great example.
Aw.
I sincerely appreciate that and just very thankful to have you in our life personally and professionally.
Aw.
And
Yeah.
just excited to see the next 10 years.
Me too.
Yay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.